Alright, so this is the next follow-up video, and I put in some well, I found and put in some additional image references of the character, right? And yeah, these are really important. They give you a ton of information, even though they're toys. But it gives you shading information. See the shading, the shadowing. It helps to show the surface and how the surface is gonna bend and wrap around into each other, and it shows volume and mass. So super important to have image references, as I discussed in class. So in order to make these, you go and create free image plane, and it's going to make one of these image planes, and then attribute editor is somewhat similar to the camera based image plane, right? So even the names look similar, and then this pops up, right? And then in here you just click on the folder, the second tab, right? Not the first, second tab, folder icon, and I just choose. And that's it, and you pop it in. And yeah. Anyway, so the image reference has been updated, right? I can see the neck and the front, right? So let's see what I can do. I have my additional image references set in another separate display layer, set it to reference so I can't grab onto it. And I have it set back very far away in 3D world, but still close enough where I can read information. I said far away because if I'm like working on the model, right, I don't want to be behind it because it's really distracting, right? So I have free range. See? That's why you want to put auto in the back. Alright, so from here, since we have more information, last time I left off, I was shaping out the side wall, right, of the chest, the rib cage, and eventually the hips, right? And my front view. Okay, so it looks like this got tuned a bit more. I'm gonna grab these at a chunk at a time. I'm at level 3 or number 3, the higher poly cage, subdivision preview, blah blah blah. So I'm gonna just fill that out a bit. I grabbed 3 at a time, right? That 3 is actually this 3, which turns out to be 2 planks of faces, so this side wall. And so I want to have a nice shape. Tuck that in, tuck that in. Okay, all right. Looking at the distance between each face, each roll, right? Nicely, evenly distributed. Yeah, looks alright. Okay, and then from here, so as you can see, at the top, it looks okay-ish at the top, right? The top of the rib cage. But as you get lower and lower, you know, the pelvis area, it turns into garbage, right? See, how it kind of loses its shape a lot right here, doing this weird looking shape. I mean, to understand why, because we don't have enough resolution lines, right? Edge loop to go down here to help plump it up. So what I'm gonna do is, I wanna bring this to here. I'm gonna check this out a bit, check that out a bit. I'm gonna bring this up to here. Let's see, let me just balance this out a little bit more. Okay, so what am I thinking? Let me grab this, these three, scoot this up a bit. Alright, I want to chop off a certain area. I'm just looking at my spacing. This part could be a little bit higher. Just a bit of nitpicking. And a little bit more. Grab this. A little bit more. Spacing. Pull this in a bit. This part may pull it up a bit. Pull this in a bit. A nice flowing, organic shape, line flow. Grab those, tuck it in. Oop. Grab these, tuck it in. Grab these, could be a little bit higher. Now you use your best judgment to have nice, clean, flowing lines. And then, for now, I'm gonna kill off this part. Reason why is that the pelvis part is going to slot in, the hips and the bottom of the pelvis, right? I'm going to have to prep it basically. Alright. Broaden that out a little bit more, the rib cage. So I did that. Just a bit of prep work. What else? I'm in level 1, so I'm looking at my lines, right here. I'm looking at these surface planes. This part right here is kind of abruptly kicking in. I'm going to scoot that back out a bit, scoot that back out a bit, scoot that back out a bit. So my train tracks, that's what I'm basically looking at. And then I'm gonna push this in a bit. I'm thinking the faces are too fat. And part of the reason why I'm also doing this is that I want to add that edge loop here. So I'm giving it space. So the spacing between each parallel running lines aren't going to be so tight and cramped. I'm looking down here, press 3, right, see right here, right, before, right, and then when you press 3, it starts to pull in, and this guy too, it pulls, and it also ends up pulling this. But once you add another level of resolution here, and then you puff it out, it's going to hold its shape. Like when I talked about supporting edge loops, this edge loop that I'm going to put in is going to help support the overall volume and shape of the front of the rib cage and pelvis. So that's why all this clearance, I did some prep work, right? I'm puffing this out because the pelvis area, right, the front of the pelvis area, right, to give it that nice roundness, so it doesn't lose its shape. So again, I feel like these guys need to be pulled in a bit more. So I get a nice side wall of the what do you call this? Abdomen. How do you pronounce that? Front side of the stomach, basically. I'm just gonna check this out. I'm looking at my side wall. Right. This part I'm gonna check it in. This maybe I'll do that a bit, See? But you see it's pulling. Right, like I said, it's pulling. And I'm emphasizing this so that students or whomever's watching this understands how subdivision surfaces work and what the lack of additional edge loops, what it does to the mesh. This part right here, it's transitioning fast. So I'm gonna just puff it up. So I want my chest wall. Right? Looking like this. Always good to see the different angles. See right here? I want a more broader chest wall, but not flat like this. Right? This is what you want to avoid, where it's perfectly flat. Right? You want to have that curvature. And then this, you know, pull it a bit more so I have a nice round. See? It's holding up the face a little bit better now. Right, and looking at these running parallel planks gives you clues. Nice. Right here as well. This angle, I want to puff this up a bit. Let's puff this out. Why am I fiddling so much right now? Because once you add the additional edge, edge loop here, it's actually a lot of information. And if you do the prep work now, you avoid getting confused and not understanding what's happening. This part here, right? The spacing, I'm just looking at it, and the line flowing. Right, line flowing. Look at it from the top. Right, see how it's right now caving in. So maybe here, I'm gonna just make it straight, pulling on that. Reason why is so just to prevent any wobbly lines. Let me put that straight. Make the hip area a little bit more leveled out. Get straight, pulling on that. That's all I'm doing. From this view, right? I'm trying to get the gesture, the line flow. See how this line is coincidentally going to be the midline right around here for the socket. How it's going to all fit into each other. This part I'm going to widen out a bit more because it's going to be the widest point of the chest. and basically poking out sideways. Right. Alright, I think it's ready. This part, yeah, you know what? Let me focus on here then. So this part's set. I'm gonna delete the history. Right, 15 minutes. Shift right click. Let's just do a insert edge root. Click right down the middle. Maybe right, should I even do it here? Chances are it's gonna need 2 more. Right? Like, yeah. So I'm gonna put one here. Let me try to put one here. After I do that, I'm gonna hold, right after I do that, so I landed that in. I'm gonna grab this 3 at a time. Just 3 at a time. Or maybe 4. I'm looking at all this. They're running parallel. 5. You know what? Let me grab this. I'm gonna push this in. So it's running more vertical up and down. I'm gonna push this in this way. I'm gonna grab these. Press R. I'm gonna smash it straight. I'm gonna push this in. Like that. Why did I do this? Right. So basically right now I'm lining it up so it's more or less straight-ish. This one's kind of denting in. I'm also looking at the spacing and how straight it is. It doesn't have to be perfectly straight, but in the ballpark. I'm looking this way, running perfectly parallel. This one could be a little bit more like this, running parallel lines, the train tracks basically. Right. Then I'm gonna grab all of it. I'm gonna scoot it forward like that. If I press 3, as you can see, my sidewall is holding out much better. I'm gonna tuck it out a bit. Right, I get this nice roundness. I do that. And I'll push out a bit. Maybe a bit too much. Pull it back a bit so my spacing, so it recedes more.